on both of our mics here. So Seeker, can you hear my voice? Give me a thumbs up or a yes if you can. And then Eduardo, if you'd talk for a second as well, make sure everybody can hear you on Twitch.
For sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Can hear both of us? Awesome. Sweet. That would not be one hive. We'll do hive.org. And get this one up as our share screen. Awesome. So on Twitch, folks, I guess I have my video coming through. We're going to have avatars for all the speakers. They're going to be joining us on the stage in the One Hive Discord. You can also see a screen share. So as we're going through Snapshot today, Twitter, and other perhaps sources of news, we'll be looking at NFBeez. We'll be taking a look at DXDao, talking a little bit about trivia as well. So if you tune in on Twitch, you'll have some nice visuals there. In addition to the audio. If you're with us here in the One Hive Discord, welcome to everybody again. We're going to get started here in just 1 second. Edu, how was your weekend, man? And I realized I think only people on Twitch could hear me there. Okay, Edu, how was your weekend, man?
Yes, now I can hear you because you were muted here. My weekend was good. Driving a lot. I was driving back to Panama City and resting after the TEC kind of runoff election. So a little bit of everything. Back to you.
We'll talk about that, or at least I'll definitely make sure you have the floor to talk a bit about the TEC and the runoff election here this morning. Yeah, just to do a little bit of housekeeping, I guess I want to make sure everybody knows again that you can tune in on Twitch, where we have some, we have the share screen and my video. We'll have some guest video in the future, and that of course also will be recorded and available immediately afterwards. If you want to scrub backwards, forwards on that video, and then you can of course catch the audio here on the One Hive Discord here on the stage. We're here every Monday, 11 a.m. For about a 2-hour stream. Today's agenda will include a bit of announcements here at the beginning from me, and then Eduardo is going to walk us through DAOspace news for this week. Then we got Billy Jitsu coming on to talk about NFBeez. The project just launched. It's awesome. You should check it out, NFBeez.xyz, bees with a Z, .xyz. And he's going to share a little bit about the experience of building this project, launching it, and sort of where they're at right now, looking forward also into the future. And then we'll have Nathan Arhat from DXDao join us around 12:15ish to talk a bit about DXDao, a bit about just general things in crypto, and also some alpha for Friday's trivia game. So this Friday we have DXDao coming as a sponsor for trivia, and then in 2 weeks we'll have Giveth. And on that note, Giveth is also hiring right now. So I don't have the exact URL, but I was fortunate to be on a call with them the other day, the Giveth community call. I know they are looking for talent. So if you're interested, let's see if we go over to the Google Giveth here and check out their positions. I believe they have specifically somebody they're looking for on the communications side for trivia, or sorry, rather for Twitter. And let's see here. So you can get the exact link. But if you're interested in joining Giveth, head over to giveth.io. They are hiring particularly in communications and social media, I know for sure. And so go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. Also, Giveth, as we said, coming hopefully as a sponsor for trivia on the 4th of February. So not this coming Friday, but 2 weeks after that. That'll be the third game of the season, last one before ETH Denver. So we look forward to having them as well and promoting everything awesome that's happening with Giveth. So Eduardo just mentioned the TEC here, and in passing, if you aren't aware, the TEC Garden has launched, and let's see, go over to the Garden's app. we will see the TEC or TE Commons, Token Engineering Commons, has launched here, and this is something that was much awaited, and a lot of hard work went into its creation, the parameters that are going to govern everything from token issuance to the governance dynamics of this garden. So I know, Eduardo, you said you were a little pooped from talking about the TEC so much recently, but do you want to share just a little bit with the good people that have tuned in this morning about the TEC and why this garden matters so much?
Sure. The DAC had a runoff of proposals. So basically, for people who are not aware of how the TEC works, the TEC is a Token Engineering Commons, and it's basically a space who aims to be a chilling point for token engineers. So basically, we started this process like a year ago of building up a commons, but we did it in different stages. And the first stage was to launch the DAO, and the second stage was to build the commons. And by doing this process, it was a community-driven process. So everything from the token price, the voting for a snapshot, the parameters of the vote, the parameters of the token, everything was voted and proposed by the community. So basically, it was anyone could have voted. And then we had this process called the hatch, which was where we raised 1.5 million. And basically, the people who participated in the hatch were called hatchers. And these hatchers were the ones allowed to vote on this final runoff that ended last week, and then the 13th of January. So we had 5 proposals: Goldilocks, Bolsheviks Gambits, Mathematics, Austrian Baby, and 420. And these 5 proposals were debated, were talked about. We had 2 or 3 weeks of deep debating to educate the community and to basically make the community aware of what's going to be the parameters about. And at the end, Goldilocks won the vote with 61.42%. And this is based on these parameters from the Goldilocks. It's how the gardens will be, or the gardens was built up on off. So that's a little bit of context. Back to you, Tulas.
There we go. Yes, I have it up on screen here. I think people, yeah, if you're interested in launching a garden, for example, I really think that there's no better place for you to go and learn about how to think about the parameters of your token economy than the TEC's forum, right? So I guess this is actually a great it's a great link. I can put it in. I'll put it in the OneHive TV chat channel. This is the list of runoffs, and then you can check out the snapshot here again to sort of see how each panned out. It really looks like, Edu, that these top 2 ran away with all the votes, huh?
Yeah, I was told and explained because we had a confusion about this kind of voting on a snapshot. And it seems that this kind of voting on a snapshot, once, let me see if I can rephrase it correctly. Once one of the proposals has passed the 50%, then they will stop counting the other ones except for the second one closest to it. So it's not that the other 3 didn't get votes. It's basically that the system doesn't count them out, doesn't visualize them if there is already a proposal that has passed 50%. So they concentrate in the last 2 proposals. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Yes, I got it. I got it. Okay. And for anyone who isn't, who hasn't had a chance, or is just diving into this for the first time, this is a process that took. I mean, how long would you say it's taken the debates the debate in the TEC around this parameter selection process? I guess, the beginning of the deployment of the dashboard and then to the debates.
It has taken about probably 2 months of first coming out with 5 proposals. We're through a process of debating already and proposing and forking proposals and so on. and then from that you pick the top 5 proposals. That took basically a month and a half, and then you had the runoff part, which
Got
is
it.
it ends up in this vote. So it was probably roughly 2 months of debating, proposing, understanding where was the community. It's a signaling also process.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really interesting. In the case, for example, of the one you have that the opening price, it's one wrap xi, and you have all the values. I will send the link to you. But you have, for example, we made this pamphlet that was a comparison in between all the proposals, so people can see in the same page what was the difference in between them. Um, for example, entry tribute, exit tribute, and how all these things place in the voting. So the idea is that the community gets informed. It's not something that you know you see often, but the idea was that you will know the intricacies of the token back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. You will understand what will happen. You will understand why are you paying that, or why someone else is paying that. You will understand why the price, why the vote process it is like this, why I have to wait 2 days, or there's a delay on the vote, or all this kind of stuff were explained thoroughly. And there were people like me who are not talking engineers, and we managed to sort of understand all of this.
Yeah, I mean, what if you're willing to put in the time and learn, I think it's accessible, right? Um, it's so I got one last question then, and I know I'll let you. Well, we can move on from the TEC, but and part of me, I like to have like an hour long panel with people on, and really hear. In the future, we could do an episode maybe once everybody's a little bit less, stressed out. Because I know this has been a super laborious process, but a labor of love, right? So I think the last question I would have is between the two that took these that took the votes. Essentially, the Bolsheviks came in second. What is the primary difference in your mind, Edu, between Goldilocks and the Bolsheviks gambit?
So there is there are many differences, and depending
Mm-hmm.
on who proposed and who sees it, will aim for a different one. But in this case, the entry tribute and the exit tribute are the biggest difference. The entry tribute for the Bolshevik gambits was 8%, and the entry tribute for the Goldilocks is at 22%. So providing context, entry tribute is basically a
Mm-hmm.
tax that you pay when you buy the token, and the exit tribute it's the tax that you pay when you leave, when you sell the token. And in the Goldilocks, it's higher entry tribute and lower exit tribute.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's a huge difference in between. For example, the entry tribute of Goldilocks is 22% and the exit is 2%. Whether in Bolshevik's Gambit, the next proposal, the entry tribute is 8% and the exit tribute is 10%. So that was a huge difference. It has different intentions, different goals with the
Mm-hmm.
proposals. It's an economy, so we are trying to set up an economy and trying to understand it around a community who proposed this. So we will see how that goes.
Yeah, the tributes are really. I think the entry and exit. We don't get into this now, but I think entry and exit tributes are like, yeah, those are really interesting. And I think that as far as the degree to which you're trying to attract speculative energy, those will definitely affect the outcomes, right? So this is so fascinating, very exciting. Congratulations, man! I think everybody should give you a big round of applause if you're in the audience. Just clap your hands in in your living room, in your office, wherever you are. Yeah. Cheers, man. I'm gonna get out of your way though. What do you want to do for Snapshot? TEC, check it out, folks, if you haven't already. Um, and Edu's gonna tell us what's happening in the DAO space.
All right. So we're gonna talk. I mean, for me, the one of the most exciting news of this week was the ENS launch and election of the stewards for the working groups. Sorry, I'm gonna answer some of the questions in the One Hive chat before we keep going into the headlines. So the TEC token is not launched yet. Can you share the TEC contract address? Yes, as soon as I get it, I will share it to you, George. No problem. If you can send me a message or in Discord, you can find me as Eduardo Vega P. I will send you the contract address. after the headlines finished. And coffee is life. Yes, I don't drink coffee too much, but I think most people will agree with you, Seeker, that coffee is life. So back with the headlines. On the ENS side, we had this situation of they created different snapshot. It was a rotation that started from January the 10th and end on January the 15th. And they created 4 snapshot to elect in all of these different snapshot posts. They had a different options to vote for candidates of the stewards. And it was a very simple vote in all of these 4. And they needed stewards for meta governance, ENS ecosystem, community, and public goods. These 4 were working groups that were explained and talked about thoroughly on the forum and on Discord of the ENS. And they for the steward election, they basically asked people to submit their own proposal for stewardship. So it was a really nice exercise because people were posting the reasoning of why they were sharing their Twitter, they were sharing all the reasoning of why they would be a good steward for the working group they were applying to. And at the end, basically they elect these people for meta governance. They have different. I mean, there's a lot of people on here. But at the end, it's about 5 people per working group, 5 stewards per working group, where 3 were elected and 2 were part of the core team of the NS. So it is a nice and interesting way to elect stewards. Usually, I have seen other ways, or a more like hand-picked stewardship role, but this is interesting. 4 votes, sorry, 4 snapshot for every working group election. What do you think about that, T-Wolves?
Yeah, no, I think so. There's 4 total, right? They have their meta governance, ecosystem, community, and then public goods. I think. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, and are these all? Do you know these are all technically wrapped up as a part of EP4? Is that right? This. I
It
think.
should be, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so folks, they have they have an interesting way that they're documenting their governance proposals. I actually haven't, I'm sure there are other DAOs doing this, but I haven't seen it before. So on the share screen, I've also included a link in the One Hive TV channel on Discord. They have, the whole DAO, but this is obviously a Git book. But here they have this drop down where they're going through each of these proposals. I just think this is a neat way to document the history. And if you really want to get into the weeds, this is not a forum post. No, this is actually their Git book, and they get through a lot of detail about the specification of how the working groups operate. So how this all hangs together, if you really want to get into the weeds, there's a lot of details about this here. And then as you've seen on the share screen as well, these are the 4. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's great to sort of be able to follow this week by week and see the evolution of this style for sure, man.
Yes, and hello, Rohik. How you doing? Just seeing some of the chats on the One Hive stream on Twitch. So the next one that we can talk about is the Aave. They deploy different snapshots. At this moment, they were basically a follow-up of the previous consensus and temperature check they were doing. And this proposal is the first one. It started on January the 11th and it ends on January 18, meaning tomorrow. And it's basically deploy Aave v3 on Arbitrum 1. And they explain on the proposal that the community is having a vote on whether to deploy on Arbitrum. And they have this a little explanation about it and how it works and why and the reasoning. And basically the vote, it's on favor with 997 votes. That's on that end. And then you have the launch the Aave v3 on Optimism, the same. And they do an explanation of or justification of this process. Like Optimism is a public goods funding mechanisms, and any deployments on Optimism support the funding of an open source public goods. and the vote is also 100% in favor. So you see, and there was, for example, in the Arbitrum one, there was 500K Aave tokens put on the vote. And in the case of the Arbitrum one, there was around 400K tokens. So a lot of involvement from the community on these votations, on this vote, and a lot of people vote. So it's interesting. They have been doing this temperature check, so it's not surprise it came out like this, because they have been testing and checking and verifying with the community whether it was someone they like it or not. What do you have any comments on this, Stewart?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. I don't know much about this boba network. It's been, it's like I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. And this one, obviously, it passed as well. But is it in the same league? It's not an L2, right? Do you know anything about boba? Anybody in the audience either?
No clue on my side.
Yeah, if anybody's got any insights on that, feel free to add in the chat there. We'll double back. But I thought that was interesting. Like these two L2s make sense. I guess Phantom makes sense. But I didn't know much about boba.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I didn't comment on it too much, because yeah, it's this kind of things that it takes a little bit more of research to understand what is it about. But it sounds to me that the boba, for example, also passed, but you see that it have only 26K Aave. So even
Right.
if it passed, you see the difference in between that one and the Arbitrum and the Optimism one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
So yeah. Then we have one of the other highlights of the week, which is the Balancer DAO sub DAO formation. That sounds like a Beyonce song, but basically Balancer, they are explaining that Balancer, it's a proposal, by the way, that started on January the 12th and it ends today. And basically, they explain that this proposal is a culmination of a lot of hard work across the Balancer community, with a special shout out of needing to go to the Ballers. They have especially shaped this vision for Balancer's DAO future through the commitment, efforts, and belief in the protocol. And they do this a little bit of explanation of how it goes. And it's basically a proposal for the inclusion of sub DAOs into the existing DAO organization structure going forward. And they explain that a sub-DAO are autonomous groups of contributors empowered by BAL holders, BAL being the token of Balancer, the BAL holders to act independently in the best interest of Balancer. Within a certain area, with clearly defined decision-making powers, sub-DAOs will have plenty of support from the rest of the DAO and the community itself. It is important to know that the contributors are not required to be BAL holders themselves. So basically, they explain that within a sub-DAO, there are three kinds of contributors: a signer, which is responsible for executing decisions; a member, who is the active contributor; and an observer. There are contributors who don't do much work. And they go through all the process of how the guidelines, for example, the guidelines is a minimum of 3 signers are required and are to be identified for the sub-DAO, and so on. And then they explain which are the types of sub-DAOs they're going to aim for. They are aiming for a sub-DAO for multisig, grants, marketing, operations, partnerships, and treasury. So they are sort of dividing the working groups into these sub-DAOs and giving certain freedom to organize themselves. What do you think about it, Tibbles?
Yeah. No, I think that this is very much in keeping with what we see in other DAOs, right? I guess the framing, referring to them as sub DAOs. I mean, I think in some ways we refer to them as like swarms in one hive, but the concept that you have these like autonomous sub components. Yeah, I guess in the case of Balancer, this is the process of devolving power, right? Of decentralization.
Yeah, correct. And I think it's a nice strategy. They have laid out a sort of a clear explanation and walkthrough. They have defined designers of every subDAO, and they also have defined the cycles and the time constant time frame of this. Like subDAOs operated on a quarterly cycle starting from January the 1st, April the 1st, July the 1st, and the 1st of October. And the quarterly cycles are used for budget allocation, reporting, goal setting, and alignment across the DAO. And they explain also that a learnings and review document will be created by each funded subDAO at the end of each cycle. These documents will be compiled into one document by the ops subDAO for posting on the forum, and blah, blah, blah. So basically, it's really interesting. They even propose a template and a budget breakdown and so on. So it's interesting because it you can see how much work it has been put onto this, into trying to find how to operate and how to escalate. Because I think that the most important part is that this is a proposal for scalability. How you can scale your workflow. How can you scale your contributors? How can you scale your organization? So it's interesting, and they lay out also the governance process. And they rather than calling it temperature check, they call it RFC, request for comment. And they give a template for that. Then they call it for step 2, that is discussion, using a specific channel in Discord. They call them the step 3 proposal. They call the step 4 snapshot, and step 5 the results. So they have laid out their documentation. It seems quite clear. So we will see how this deploy. I mean, if we are following their roadmap, they should start rolling out this subDAO organization quite soon, because it's already closed the vote, and the vote is a yes, with 200K ball tokens on it. So, curious. We will see how that goes.
Sweet, man. Do you have any idea, like, having read through this a bit, if, like, will funding requests be made by each subDAO, or will there be like one large funding request? I forget what we were looking at the other week, but there was one I felt like where it was almost as if they'd asked, the funding was for like a DAO's wide request that then funneled down.
There is a treasury subDAO. So my bet is that the treasury subDAO will be the one handling this. But I still don't. I haven't read that part, or it was not clear to me how each subDAO will request funding.
Okay.
But I think it will be clear once they start working.
Oh yeah.
And I think it could be also interesting for people who wants to work with Balancer. If you have subDAOs, probably will be easier to work with them, since it's very clear what they are looking for and very clear what the subDAOs are about.
Got it. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they clearly, for the treasury, they had a higher sort of decision-making threshold, consensus, and then the same for grants. I mean, grants is actually a little bit different, but of course they got a little higher here, whereas the standard is 2 for 3, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I think the last one was CityDAO, is that right?
Yes, then we have to CityDAO, which is quite simple, actually. The CityDAO one. And it's a vote that started on January the 12th and it ends on January 15th. And this proposal is to remediate approximately 29.1 ETH in lost funds due to the social engineering attack on January 10th of 2022. So basically, this is a very interesting vote. They have they also explain through a little bit that their remediation request will be verified by the core team prior to the payment, and they also have the option to repaying gas spent on fraudulent transactions. So basically, they have quite an involvement, and the option that won was do not remediate with 50%. The next one was remediate lost ETH, partially remediate, and remediate lost ETH only. at the end, do not remediate was the one who won with 50%. And so yeah, it's an interesting thing for CityDAO. This ask to the community if they want to reimburse or not, and they do explain. For example, if do not remediate receives less than 50% of all votes and is removed from the options, we will move to partially remediate loss if only. So they explain how it was going to work in advance, and that the option do not remediate will have to receive more than 50% of all votes doing. And it did. Barely, but it did. What do you think, Tilt?
Actually, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I find the outcome interesting here. I guess the part that I would have to share is the link to a Twitter thread from this profile, Little Lemon Friends. I dropped it in as well as a sort of a snip of the proposal that Eduardo's talking about. This is the social engineering. It explains how the hack was carried out, or the scam, rather, is probably a better term. So we can talk about this, but just to be clear, does this mean that they're not remediating the funds lost, right? That's the decision here. I don't know if do they have a minimum threshold? I mean, it's beyond half, but I don't know what their sort of like governance parameters are.
Yeah, they explain here that that they would request more than 50% and less than 50%.
Right there, it is.
Partially, yeah.
Got it.
Partially remediate,
Got it. Okay, so they're barely over the threshold then, huh?
Yeah, barely.
Wow.
But they are.
How much total was lost? Do you have any idea? Like, I don't.
Yes.
Oh, here it is, 29.
29.1 is.
Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna have a type of horrible cat listed. What is it?
It's a bunch of money.
Where's the cal? See, I normally use CoinGecko. I haven't been on CoinMarketCap. Here we go. I don't know, 29.1. Yeah, just a shade under. Well, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it's probably 100K. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So to briefly go through this, have you read this, Eduardo, and how the scam actually worked?
No, I didn't. Go ahead.
So again, folks, if there's somebody technical in the audience or that read more deeply into this, please feel free to correct me if I read this wrong or I'm explaining it incorrectly and inaccurately in any way. But basically, it's a social engineering attack. I think Dosh he's in the chat here. I think he's familiar with this as well. But essentially, the scammer chooses one of your team members, okay, who's a target, and this is now on Discord, okay, how they compromise Discord accounts. So specifically, obviously, if you're a founder and administrator, a moderator, you're somebody who's more likely to be a target, and they go into another Discord server that the target is in. So if you're like most of us and you're getting notifications that you're like maxing out the number of servers you're in, they could go in any of those other ones, and they trick the other Discord. So they basically impersonate you badly to get you to ban the target by impersonating you or the target, right? To scam community members from the other Discord. So somebody goes in there and starts making trouble, get banned, and then after seeing that the target is banned from the other Discord, then impersonates a mod from that Discord to reach out to the target via DM. So this is essentially, if you've been targeted and you get banned, or someone gets banned from a Discord, perhaps that you're in frequently, you want to get back in that Discord, and so a fake account reaches out to try to solve that problem for you. And in the process, they do some social engineering, fake Photoshop discussions, all to get your 2FA, to bypass your 2FA, okay? Getting the call with the target eventually gets them to screen share. It tells the target to open the inspect element by pressing Control-Shift-I. Okay, so if anybody, this is sort of like almost on the level of somebody asking for your keys, okay? If you're on a call like this, there's a reason, for example, right, that I'm sharing. Hopefully the screen that I'm sharing has no personal details and I'm not logged into anything. I'm trying to do my best here. If there's ways that we can have better OPSEC, please tell me, folks. But in this case, the scam is when this person asks you to share your screen, and then they ask for you can inspect the screen to do all sorts of different stuff. But as a result, they can use this to essentially bypass 2FAs, go through their passwords, and in this case, they were able to to get a hold of, I guess, I don't know how this then led to their Ether exploitation, but apparently this is like the method that was used against CityDAO. Do you know any more about that? Anybody else in chat or Eduardo about this specifically?
No clue. They are asking, George is asking if you can share if you can share the link to the tweet, T-Walls.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the reminder. I'm trying to keep stuff in Discord. I'll try to put it in both places, but that one should work. Yeah.
You are a functional bee.
I'm getting better each week. Yeah.
No, I have zero clue about this social engineer, but it's like, I mean, with the amount of spam we all receive daily, it's not surprised that people are getting better at this kind of stuff, And this is the kind of things that it could happen to the best of us. When it's like this fake Hotmail, all websites, or this fake MetaMask, impersonators, that you are just in such we are in such a daily rush that we just click on the things automatically, and we just see something similar, and we just like, oh yeah, it is my page. It's just a little bit weird today. Maybe it's my browser.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go, mechanical actions. And the thing is that in crypto, mechanical actions can surely affect you deeply. It is not like the old days where you can call the bank and say, like, hey, this was fraudulent. Can you please restore my funds because I was scammed, or someone stole my card and I called the bank to cancel the card. That doesn't work in that way here.
That's the trade-off, right?
Yeah, it's a trade-off, and I think if someone makes a plugin for Chrome or a software that can, automatically detect that you are that someone is using similar but not the same software that you should be using, I will pay money for that.
Yeah. Solar is sharing here that he always checks his profile ID on Discord before banning. Usernames can be cloned, right? So that's how this works, right? 2FAs, yeah, admins in Discord for sure. Yeah. Thanks, Solar. Well, we'll all be on. It's good. Again, we're not trying to. This is not a FUD thing on CityDAO at all, right? Just so we're clear, this is actually, I think, a situation where we can learn how to be better. And I'm still really bullish on CityDAO. I think it's interesting, the project. But yeah. Well, do you want to wrap with Proof of Humanity, or what do you want to do?
Yes.
Man? Okay.
Let's talk about Proof of Humanity. I don't know if folks are familiar with Proof of Humanity, but Proof of Humanity, it's quite an interesting project. It's basically a UBI, if you wanna summarize it, and it's basically a system combining Web of Trust with reverse Turing test and dispute resolutions to create a civil proof list of humans. That's basically what it does and what it is. It has gained quite traction in the past year. So they uploaded a proposal that started on January 11th and it will end on January the 18th. And basically, it's regarding the protocol HIP 34. And that proposal basically tackled the fact that they were receiving a lot of spam and how they could resolve it. So they created this label or role called proposer, and a proposal is just an administrative task, meaning someone who will just upload the proposal to a snapshot. And they explain that the proposal could be board members and delegates, people employed by the DAO, or people employed as proposer through a proposal, meaning if you wanted to, you propose something on the forum, and then you say, oh, T-Wells, it could be a proposal for this, then that person could submit a proposal on a snapshot. Otherwise, it wouldn't. And they even include the option the proposal could be anonymous. So they specify the process of how this is going to work. And they went through this process in a previously proposal on a snapshot. Um, and then based on that previous proposal on a snapshot, they created this election poll of proposers. And basically, you will
Hmm.
click on I offer myself as proposer, and then um, they will be assigned within a week of the closure of the poll. Um, and you have here a bunch of people. You have around 58 people offering themselves as proposers with 100 vote tokens on
Hmm.
it.
What do you think about this, Eduardo? So this is like it's a community sourced way to gate proposals. Is that the idea?
Yep, yep. Basically, I think it's interesting. I have never seen. I mean, I guess a bot will not be able to offer himself as proposer, and you will be able to see if it is a bot when they offer themselves, and you see the address and so on. I would like to know how they will filter this. If they will allow the 58 people who has proposed themselves to be a proposer, or they will filter it down. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I'm curious about. Or yeah, just to see because they don't specify, at least on the latest snapshot, they don't specify how it works.
Seems like
They
you'd want.
specify,
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know, they just specify how the proposal rule works. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
just curious to know what will happen after this one.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking through the HIP 34, which is I think the one that's linked in the election poll, um, it doesn't. It's like I'm curious to know, for example, how long these people will like. There's got to be some rotating. Like this has to be something that isn't a one and done deal, right? So
Right.
how frequently are they going to have these proposer election polls, right? I don't know because right
Right.
now 56 people is decently healthy if those folks. I mean, in some ways, it's like if you have 56 people who are active and going to be taking advantage of their ability to do it, then that seems pretty cool. But if it's permanent, then I don't think it would be, right? But
Yeah, I
there's
don't
got to
think
be
either.
some cadence of re-election or whatever, right? Because you want to. Part of the reason that we use conviction voting is to try to enable as many
Yeah.
people to come and participate in governance as possible. But yeah,
Right. Right.
certainly a good
No.
way to
And
combat spam shot. It's
yeah. Completely. But yeah, that's it for this week. Um, it was a very quiet week, actually, in general terms. But you can see the trend of organizations try to match the beginning of the year with matching with key organizational decisions and see how that impacts the rest of the year. So we will see.
mm-hmm. Cool, man. Well, we always got interesting stuff to share every week. Thanks to your research, I really appreciate it, man. I hope everybody um, enjoyed getting a little flavor of what's happening around the DAO space.
Thank you for the space always.
Yeah, man. Well, do you wanna stick around, and we're gonna bring Billy. I think Billy on in just a minute here. You wanna stick around to talk NFBeez, Edu, or what do you think? You gonna head over to do some? You should head over to some rest and relaxation after the TEC's victory. Yeah.
I will probably leave, yes, but I would like to say to Bridget too that we are sisters uh on bees because I mint a very similar NFT bees. Just a mine's prettier. Mine's like a queen. So there you go. That's it.
Cool, man. Yeah, I love those 3D ones. All right, Billy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
You're really soft, at least in my. Let me see if I scoot up here.
I can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, is that good?
I can see. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Am I live? Am I?
You are live indeed. We're all
Okay,
live. I'm gonna get you up on screen here in
okay,
just a second. How's it going,
okay.
man?
It's good, man. Like, a bit of anxiety relief, and a little bit of a breather, kind of a weekend relaxer. but now, it's kind of back to the grind.
I got you, man. Well, I wanna let me get your avatar up here, and then we'll. Thank you again, Edu. Hope you have a great day, man. Okay. Yeah, man. We got your avatar live and everything. Actually, I have the one from NFBeez. I don't know if I have the exact one that you're
That's
wearing right
okay.
now, but I got one of the
Yeah, not
NFBeez
to
up there.
worry. It's a
Yeah, man.
B. It's a B.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, congratulations, man. I think everybody here agrees that, as I said the other day, we need to get you like a trophy. I know that this was a Herculean task,
It's
and you
been
guys, yeah.
Yeah, it's been like a crazy. I don't know if you saw my message of the outline. I mean, that was just the outline of what went on in the span of like 3 months, primarily of what like happened with the bees. I've talked about like the beginning story and seeing the forum posts and everything, but like nobody really knows like what happens on the dev side. And like to be
Mm-hmm.
open and honest, like now, like I don't want to say it earlier, but like come April of 2021, I had no idea how to code Solidity, no idea how to make a website other than like a Square website. I just sat down and like did it. I said, all right, I'm just gonna do it. So like when I saw this project, like, all right, cool, let's an NFT project, fun. Maybe there's a lead dev and I can learn from him and like I can help pitch in and like learn about NFTs. And then all of a sudden I became the primary dev. It's like, all right, let me figure that out. So then like literally for like a week or two, I'm watching the ether scan drops and I'm looking at all the gas jumps. And I'm like, all right, it's an NFT drop. Let me look at the code. So then I just like literally for a couple days, every time there was a drop and the gas was spiking to 1,000, I'm like, okay, what's the contract? Let me look through the contract. And then I started noticing like a lot of these contracts really look the same because I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm brand new to this. I'm like, all right, but I can kind of understand what's happening. And I found one like from the hashlet. I was like, all right. So then I like learned about it, really built it, and then I created a working demo off of it to show everybody like, hey, let's build off this. And like if you saw the first website that I built on it, like it's like it looked like it came from like 1996 or something like. It's just like it just has one button to work. So, and then like I learned all the stuff like through YouTube and like docs and stuff like that. So I have things working on Rinkby
Mm-hmm.
and everything's looking good. And I was like, all right, like let's build this thing. We got artists, I'm pulling artists from all over the place. And it's like, all right, I've done everything on Rinkby, but let me try it on XDAI. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, well, there's no Infura or Alchemy login for uh, XDAI. So I'm like, well, how do I upload to that node? And like, there's no video documentation because like nobody's really making video documentation about XDAI.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have to spend days reading the docs. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I don't really have to use like a node. They have like a specified node that I can use, but I didn't know how to do that. So it's like, all right, cool. Got it to XDAI.
Nothing
I
to
don't know how much
learn.
it's gonna cost. Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, okay, well now I have it uploaded, but now I got to verify the contract. No one wants to like mint off a verified contract, but they don't use Scan. They use Block Scout. So it's like, okay, well, how do I verify on Block Scout? And there's no tool there. Like, all right, well, how do other people do it? They're like, oh, Sourcify. Then I go to Sourcify and it's asking me for like some weird thing like, oh, you need the metadata JSON files. Like, well, where do I find that? I can't find it. There's no like plugin like Etherscan and Hardhat, like
Mm-hmm.
Rinkby and like Polygon. I look at all these tools. I say, oh yeah, look at this tool. It's really easy to do, either on ETH mainnet or Polygon or Avalanche. There's no love for XDAI. So I'm like, oh man. So now I have to find a whole new tool. So then I find this plugin for Hardhat. I was like, all right, but like it's a whole brand new thing. So now while I'm struggling learning Solidity, now I have to learn TypeScript because now it uses TypeScript. Now I have to learn this whole new like development plugin to work that. So like someone were to ask me that, I can tell you in 10 minutes in your live, but I had nobody to really ask. So like I'm putting it on Discord forums and like I get a reply maybe 2, 3 days later, it wouldn't work and say, oh, this didn't work, but what about this? And then 2, 3 days later, it comes back. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, finally we got that done. So, all right, finally I could upload to this and upload to that. And so now I'm like, all right, let's make a friend in person. And I'm jumping in the like Chainlink hackathon. This is like in October. And so I'm like, all right. And then I meet Nick in TEC Commons, like, oh, you're in Chainlink too. Let's create something, and we were working on this. And then right then, like, NFB started to take form and like starting to take off and started to get a little bit more serious. So I'm like, okay, like, hey, why don't you do the friend thing for us? It's like, oh yeah, I can do that. It'll be perfectly fine. I work either S, I work all this. I was like, all right, cool. And so we were all talking about it, getting ideas. And then, she had some personal issues in her life that she had to, bow out. So like, okay, well, I've already done this budget and I already done this thing. Like, how? I don't know anybody else that does front end, and it's like, well, shit. Like, I got to learn what I got to learn. So I'm like, okay, now I'm watching YouTube videos of how to do React, how to do HTML, CSS. I'm like, man, because now there's a responsibility. Like I've literally gone to these Discords, knocking door to door like a salesman. Hey, I'm part of a One Hive group team. We're building stuff. So I've got people from Bright ID. I got people from Shapeshift. I said, oh, this is cool. So
Mm-hmm.
now I got people building. So I'm like, okay, I mean, either I cry about it or I just man up and do it. And so I basically learned how to do all this stuff like through YouTube videos and everything. And luckily, Nick was available to like at least give me like a template on there with React and stuff. It's like, all right, she gave me the template, but the template didn't really follow everything I was learning on YouTube. Like I was learning how to do with like CSS and everything, and like they're
Mm-hmm.
using like style components. So now I got to learn style components on top of everything else. So I'm like, ah. So just like my plan was, and if there was any front end devs, like my whole thing was like building it off like one app file, like one single document file, and like now all the Web3 devs are like cringing. So when she gave me like this multi-platform interconnecting, React code, I'm like, oh man. So now I have to sit there and dissect what she knows. I can't find somebody else because then they're gonna have to learn what's going on, and we
Right.
don't have any money, obviously. So it's like a whole thing. So I'm like, all right, I got to learn this, and like just learning how to center a div in just
Mm-hmm.
general, like center an item in the website is like insanity. So again, I learned all that. So now I got a clunky front end, and now artists are asking, oh, what about royalties? Where I was like, well, I don't know. And so like, there's no standard in royalties in the blockchain. Like OpenSea has a royalty standard, Rarity has an OpenSea standard.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's all these different standards. So like now there's talk about these standards, but nobody has much documentation about it.
Right.
So then I'm like, okay, well, what's the NFT marketplace on X? And the only one I know is E4. So I reach out to him. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is how you do royalties. And he's talking to me like I'm some like 10-year, Solidity dev. And he's like, oh yeah, just add these functions and you're good. It's like, well, okay. So then I'm like, okay, well, like I gotta find
Find these
like
functions.
this one function that exists. So like try Googling a function and like you get these random words and then again back to Etherscan and like I'm literally looking for things that use this function. I'm like, and I learn by example. Like if you show me how
Mm-hmm.
to do something, I'll figure it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, how do I do this? And then like eventually, I don't know how I did it, but I'm like that one moment of like it clicked and I tried it and it worked. I'm like, holy crap, it actually did work. I'm able to like add royalties on here. I was like, okay, and this is where I feel like, damn, I can actually do this in a sense. So now we have royalties. I'm building the front end. The back end's looking good. And then we get into like, okay, the art needs to be done, and now we have to do conversion issues. So, okay, that's all Gigadic's thing. He's doing the animation, and we have to create a deadline because we have all these cool communities coming in. It's like, well, we can't keep adding. We have to find a cutoff, and let's do it. And it's December, so now it's a chaotic time. And so like Gigadic does all the animations and everything, and he does everything to spec, and he gives me the first generation, and like it's 19 gigs on IPFS. So I'm like, okay, well, this is just way too big, but let's just try it anyway. Let's see what we get. And so like I mint the first one on Ringty, and then like I click it and wait, and like I'm literally waiting 5 minutes, and then finally the NFT loads. I'm like, no, this is not gonna work. Imagine launch day, people are launching, and you can't see your NFT for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a disaster. So I was like, all right, let's just resize it. I mean, that's the most common sense. Let's resize it, make it smaller. Well, the way GIF works, or GIF, however you want to say
Mm-hmm.
it, is like, it's like a 1990 technology. So
Mm-hmm.
we have all these moving parts in it. And so like you start pixelating and then the things start like blending together. So you start getting all these weird blurry looks.
Oh
So you
man.
figure, okay, if I just resize it, from 1,000 to 1,000 to 500, problem solved. We'll just do it. But for some reason, the generation tool didn't like it. So you
Uh,
figure. So now Giga had to go back and redo
oh
and like
God.
unanimate all the back ends.
Oh
And then
no.
we try it again, we run it, and like each generation costs money.
Right.
So like, okay, we're because we're not using a free tool because it's the only tool that supports animation. Because nobody's doing animation,
Right.
everybody's doing like
NFTs.
static images.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that, and again, it looks ugly. I'm like, well, why is it doing this? So I'm like, and then the files are too big anyway. They're over like 2-3 MB. So I'm like, all right, how can I battery size these? Because you look at all these generation tools, and then all of a sudden, like it's 1 to 1. Like I got to do
Mm-hmm.
3,000 one by one and rename it. It's like impossible. So like I've learned more about art files and art file limitations that I ever wanted to learn in my life. And ultimately, we decided on working animated PNGs. And so with animated PNGs, a lot of people claim they can
Huh.
resize and everything, but they only really do static PNGs. So anyways,
This is
that's the whole
why
thing.
I
I'm
gotta
glad
ask
that's
you
not
though.
working.
I was gonna say, man, like I love the animation. But I realized that I was trying to get some of the animated versions to download them as to get them as assets to put them up on screen today, and I realized that
Yeah.
that's it's not possible. I don't know
But
if I'm right clicking.
well, yeah. Well, if you right click, it saves it as an animated PNG. But again,
uh,
not
uh,
everything supports it. It's more for browsers and certain
uh,
tools that do support it.
okay,
So
okay,
yeah, like it's a whole thing. Like I have a conversion tool. Like if
wow.
you want to use an animated profile.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, GIFs would have been way easier to use, but because of the limitations and the size, we couldn't do that.
I
And then at
gotcha.
the end of the day, we do the generations. Okay, the number's always been 333 the whole time. 3333. You know
Mhm.
that's what we've been
Mhm.
promoting. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, a lot of these look like crap. We're doing like the multi-DAO stuff, and then we have these weird Frankenstein-looking ones that we thought maybe look cool, maybe not. But we got the shapeshift body with TEC eyes, with weird wings. I'm like, man, if I'm into this, I'd be like, this is crap. Let's throw it away. So I was like, well, how do we figure out? Like, we're this far into it. We figured all this stuff out. What are we gonna do? So then, like, I'm like, well, what can we do? It's like we're going back and forth between me and Giga, and like me and Giga, we're like opposite sides of the world. So while I'm sleeping, he's awake. While he's awake, I'm sleeping. So like, it's just like the worst possible combination of time zones you could possibly have. So we're like, all right, well, let's cut the mint.
Mhm.
It has to be something lower. And like, well, what's the number? And it's like, well, we're close to 25. Well, I just did all the accounting and all the promises for 3,000. So I'm like, well, okay, well that sucks. So ultimately, I have to redo the entire accounting, and I was like, well, I don't want to be unfair to everybody that did their part.
Mhm.
So ultimately, me and Giga, we took a big pay cut. Ultimately, it's like to make this thing work. It's like that's the only thing that makes sense. It's not like we force everybody down. Everybody took a small pay cut, but me and Giga really took the biggest hit off the whole thing.
Right.
So now we have art. Great. We have that. We're almost ready to launch. And then a mobile MetaMask and ENS. So ENS decides that they want to start doing ENS redirections for ENS names, which is awesome. They decided to go with .xyz,
Okay. Right. That's
which is
right.
great. Yeah. So, well, they don't support Chain 100, which is XDAI.
That's right.
So every time someone wants to go through mobile MetaMask, they get an ENS resolver issue, and they can't view it. So I'm like, what the heck?
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, we don't support it yet. You're gonna get the ENS 100. It was like, well, Hex or whatever version, it doesn't work. So now I have to create a new site, NFBeez.site, SITE, so then people can view it through MetaMask
Uh,
there. And like it's like another hurdle. It's like if we just had .com, it would have been perfect. We would have no issues. But it's just the growing pains of it. And then project management. I mean, that's just the dev side. I mean, then I'm
yeah.
doing project
Yeah.
management to make this thing work. Dealing with multiple personalities. Everybody's got an idea. Everybody's got an idea. Between me
Oh
and you, we
yes.
probably have 20 ideas.
I believe. I believe.
And then like, how do I create a fair accounting? Like again, this whole project from the beginning, it's like it's part of the community. How much should I make? Obviously I'm going to be biased. I should make the most. I'm spending the most time. But it's like, well,
Yep.
that's not really fair to everybody else. And how do we go back and forth? And I use all these tools like corporate shares and like how much each department should make, and then what we're going to have for the treasury. How are we going to build it out?
Hmm.
And then like keeping everybody on task. Like nobody's been paid. This is all like, hey, we'll
Right.
pay you based on the percentage. So it's like,
You've worked
how
a
do you tell
miracle.
somebody, hey, speed it up, And the communications is like the biggest thing. And like this is at a time where gardens didn't release yet.
Yep.
Everybody's kind of speculating one hive. Being honest, like I've been buying honey since like 1400 all the way down. So I've
Yep.
taken a hit,
Yep.
myself. And like people are like, what's the status of one hive? Where are we going? People are
Right.
pretty quiet. We just had like a horrible X-comb, P-comb issue, and like a lot of people left. And what's the morale? Morale's low. So
Right.
again, we had this liquidity sharing, so it's been good. And like, oh, okay, I'm learning about this, but I didn't know what was existing. So communication is such a vital thing. I felt like I was spamming the channel, but I figured if people knew what was going on and that I'm working, it kind of motivates other people to just keep moving too. We'll get this project, going. And like accounting, I'm like who completed how many hours? Like how can I create an accounting system when I didn't even know what everybody did? So like a lot of that was all on
Right.
hold and like what's everybody? And then it's like, all right, well, how are we going to handle the funds? How are we going to handle the assets? And like, I have team members that's never used Hypnosis Safe, so now I got to actually teach them how to use
Yep.
it, how to interact with the contract. So it's like, everybody's like learning new skills, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're dealing with the swapping blues and things like that. But I'll get into that a little bit because I know I'm going a little over time. But then we
No,
have
no.
launch day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Launch day. So I'm like, all right, we got this. Like, we're ready. Launch day's Friday. Well, biggest problem is everybody has a different Friday.
Oh,
So
that's right.
everybody's like confused. You're like, okay, somebody's Friday is my Thursday, so like I have everything prepped to launch, and it's like, all right. And then so, like if you've ever thrown a party or something, and you put all the information on an invitation, the day of the party, 1 hour before, hey, let me have your address, or let me have, what's this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? You're like, you're super busy doing everything else, but I'm getting spammed like, oh, can you make this change to this website? Oh, can you do this? I'm like, I'm going nuts here. And so like I accidentally pushed the minter button, before launch. So then I have people DMing me, hey, the minting button's not working. As well as because it's locked. And then like all the anxieties of like screwing it all up. Like, what if I screw up the contract? We did some audits and everything, but what if like
Right.
something didn't work and I missed the logic? What if like I didn't want to have control of the contract, so I wanted to transfer it to the safe.
Mm-hmm.
What if I transfer it to the wrong address? Like one letter off, and then all of a sudden, like we can't pull the funds out. We
Ah,
have no
God.
control. Yeah. What if I can't pull the funds from the safe anymore? What if we get hacked? Like then I can't pay everybody off. What if nobody mints? Like all the fingers ultimately point to me. Like all everybody's hype, hype, hype. But when it comes down to it, there's gonna be someone that points to it and it's like, that's me. I'm the guy. Can I show my face at East Denver now? It's one of those like you kind of have to like I know it's family friendly, but you kind of have to like little like big balls in order to like to come out and just like, hey, this is what we're doing and this is what I'm posting, and this is what
Yep.
we're gonna do, versus doing it like anonymously. Oh, this is a quick project, and if it fails, I'll just change my name and then come back again. Like this is me. It's like if it was a failure, I'll own up to it, and it's a learning experience. But it's like if it's a success, awesome too. And even launch day, like just before launch day, like I was running a test run locally, and all of a sudden I realized like my hardware wallet doesn't work. Like I've been testing MetaMask, I've been doing beta tests
Yeah.
and everything, mobile, everything, and then I click on my ledger. I'm like, wait a minute, I updated my new firmware a couple weeks ago, and now I can't sign anymore. I'm like, holy crap! I got 8 hours to launch. So like, I'm like literally messaging Sartorius in in Discord. I'm like, hey, I know you're super busy with GU stakes, and like, can you take a quick look at
Help,
this to see what's
please.
going on? Please, like, I got launch time. I'm like, oh my god. So he's awesome. He takes time to like just look at the code with me and look at the error, and we go through it. And it's like, oh yeah, like your GU stakes is working like with my signer. Why isn't it working here? And it's like, oh, we're using Web3, you're using either S. And that's pretty much like, do I make the decision to like, I rewrite everything in Web3 instead of either S, like 8 hours before launch when I know it's working? So I'm like, so now it's like, you know what? I'm like, I'm driving myself crazy. And I'm like, all right, we just gotta launch. We gotta, I'll take the hit. And it's a learning experience. Like I want it to be I want it to be successful, but again, like nobody launches perfectly, but I want to do it as much as I could, and it's really on my limitations because I wanted to do wallet connect, I wanted to do frame, but I just don't know how to do that. Like I don't know how to do it simultaneously, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
like on my own personal limitations of what I know and what I don't know. And like everybody assumes that like a dev knows everything, and I'll be the first person like I really don't know a lot. I really struggled and kind of like limped along this whole process of creating this task and putting it all together. And I see it. Like I know, I think her name or his, I don't know, Anisaptera. She's like, hey, how come I can't use Frame? I'm like, but it's like that's my limitations. Like if someone from Frame would just show me how to do it, I'd
Right.
do it. And like, it is what that is. So comes Mint Day, and it actually was fun. I like the Mint launch, and it was cool because like I was interacting with people that I've never talked to before, and people are dealing and trading back and forth about like, oh, I got this B and I'll trade you for that B, and a lot of people were interacting, and that's kind of what the point was, and a lot of
Yeah.
people came out from the blue about the NFT project, and that's kind of what I liked about the NFT, because like when I talk to real life friends, It's like, hey, DeFi, 10%, 1,000%. They're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I got to stake my cum rocket and then borrow off my cum rocket and do this. I'm like, yeah, it's too complicated for me. And then you talk about governance and voting. Goes, oh yeah, we have all this DAO. Like, nah, you didn't even vote for the president. Shut up. So it's about when you talk about NFTs, and then all of a sudden it's oh, that's cute. All of a sudden
Yeah.
now they're interested,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of the
Yeah.
effect of the NFT. And like, okay, it has some power on there. People forget the social aspect of that and the community building. And so like, oh, I like seeing the effect. Like people didn't know about Gnosis Chain, and they've been coming out. And a couple people
Mm-hmm.
came in there, and who knows? And people learning about the DAOs. Literally, the NFT project kind of showed me about GU stakes. Like as Rohek did the art for it, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard about it, but I've never really looked into it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started looking into it, and it's pretty fun. Like, oh, this is an awesome platform. Like, you have the Gaussian chain, and adding a little incentive to it, puts a little sweat on your brow. Like
Yeah, man.
literally when I play a game, I'm like, all right, let me turn off my YouTube music. I gotta focus, really get in there, and it's only for $1. Only for $1. Right. So ultimately it comes down to now we have this pre project out. Like now what? Like people ask me, are you
Yeah.
happy with the mint amount? And I'm actually very happy of where we are right now.
Yeah, man.
Um, it was really good. Like, all right, we got a good mint, and I'm kind of in a sense like obviously you do want to sell out, but I'm kind of glad that we haven't, because now it keeps the team hungry, and now we got to keep building and showing why they should get this, and it's not game overtime. Some of the issues is like being successful too quick. It's too much for some people, and like now you made all this money, go why even work? So now it's like, well, now what's the plan? And ultimately what we've done is I've created a snapshot.org account for the NFBeez. So now this is now our governance token. So now we can vote on the future of this project. So now, like all these people that have been dumping, I figured there's gonna be some dump because we did like 220 airdrops and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
figured
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna put it on there. I've been sniping up all the low ones because I want more voting power.
Yeah.
I'm also picking the ones that I do like, because I want to do a collection. But now the community itself can vote the path of that what the NFBs are going to do. There's quite a few things that we want to discuss on there, like we had our first art thief trying to repost, and the community was awesome. They took it down in like 30 minutes on there, but it's like, well, what about Polygon? Someone can easily take the artwork and put it on Polygon.
Mm-hmm.
So I did launch on Polygon, and I put just a couple mints just to get a collection set on there. um but it's like, well, what do we do? And that's no longer my choice. That's no longer my choice to do that. That's going to be a community choice.
Right.
Do we launch on Polygon and just mint the collection so people can view it, or do we mint it and then put them up for sale? Do we airdrop them?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things. Does anybody even want us on there? Like maybe Gnosis Chain wants to keep us exclusive. Well, if you do, well then mint some NFTs and vote. We're going to put it to a vote,
Yep.
and then we're going to see what the community says. So you want to keep us on the chain? Who's the whale? So I've been waiting for the paper hands, man. I'm like, all right, I've been watching and looking like who's been dumping their bees, and like that gives me more voting power. So I can create that whole Uniswap. Hey, give Billy a whole bunch of money and then pass it. The community can say hell no and vote me out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would hold on to those bees and everything. So like, what's the next step for me on the dev side is, definitely integrate like web wallet and a couple other wallets on there. And then, people are talking about V2. I was like, well, maybe yay, maybe not, but I want to have more validity to the V1 and then work with more NFT projects on V2. And like one of the ideas I thought is, what if the bees interact with what are the other NFT projects on the space? Like, what if a bee stings like an XDAI tiger? You sting an XDAI tiger, and all of a sudden a new token gets born out of that. You interact with the multiple contracts, and that's going to be the V2. So now you have a reason to
Mm-hmm.
hold the NFV, you have another reason to hold the XDAI tiger, and you merge those two, and all of a sudden you got like a V2B with the cross DAO. There's so many things that we can do with that. I like when I think of like Gnosis chain, XI chain, and I think of the NFT platforms, the two that come to my head, or three actually, is the culture, XI tigers, and the punks.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the three, like the ones that I think about the most. I'm like, all right, well, let's interface those. Let's try to make something happen. I mean, I know the punks are trying to do a marketplace. Tigers are maybe doing like a couple of restructurings, doing 3D. CTC's got a couple of things in the works too, but let's figure something out. I mean, I would love to work
Hmm.
together and
Hmm.
do something with that. Like, I don't want a solo dev V2. I'll tell you that right now. It's too much, and V2 will take a while. I'm
Yeah.
working on creating utility because we only promised a project. That PFP project was what we promised.
Hmm.
I- It would have been so easy for me to say, this is going to be a game. Let's spend 10,000,
Yeah.
sell it for $5. We would have made way more money, just at that promise of all these roadmaps. I've been
Yep.
looking at so many NFT projects, and you see like we can, create the metadata, and then I look at the contracts like, well, how do they connect? There's no way they can make this work because it doesn't live on the chain. It's just fake news,
Yep.
It's like a lot of hype, a lot of promise, and I'd
Scam.
rather do it the opposite way. I'd rather you get the NFT, and all of a sudden we just keep adding more and more features and more utility to it versus promising. Like a lot of these NFTs, they don't have utility, and I had nothing to build on. The idea was like, oh, let's use the NFT to put it on HoneySwap, and you get like a half percentage. We're like, well, that's a cool idea, but why would HoneySwap do that? Like, what do they
Right.
get out of it? It's good
Right.
for us, but what does HoneySwap get? Like, we have to have, compensation for both sides of the table. Now, if I'm part of the project and I have a good idea of somehow to make that work, and or maybe they get a piece of the royalties off of it, then that makes more sense. But we have to come up with a plan. But really, again, I'm a nobody. I'm like, what, first thing you come in is like, what have you done? I mean, I've had nothing. There's like my GitHub looks pretty crappy. So until the end of the
Except for
project, it doesn't
now,
have any space. Yeah,
in practical
yeah,
reality, you have full stack development experience now in a project that is
yeah.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until
Yeah.
Friday, I really didn't have any sway. You know, so it's kind of like, well, now what? Well, now I got to keep showing like what we build and why we keep doing this. So even if there's even with the royalties, the artists are making money because now I'm kind of tasked to keep eye on royalty because royalties is the whole problem. How do you create a
Hmm.
royalty for 18 different wallets on different things to sell? So now, and then also royalties don't work on a port to a Gnosis safe. So now I have to run that through a hardware wallet. So now I'm tasked with like maintaining that and doing that. And, I've been buying it. So they've been making it and I'm figuring out a good process for that. Also, another thing to vote on there is the honey buybacks.
Hmm.
So one issue we have is when we're trying to switch that much money for payouts is when when I swapped about 1,000, 1,000 XDAI,
Hmm.
according to my Excel documents, the slippage was a little too high. So I'm losing,
Hmm.
$6 to $7 for every swap. And so when I pay out my people, it's like, okay, you were promised $100, but now they only get 96. And then let's say they want to flip it back, and then all of a sudden it's 92. Well, now they're missing $8. So I'm like,
Right.
yeah, let's figure this out a little bit better. I am gonna do the first payment in honey for sure because that's what we said. We're gonna have X, I have honey. It should drive the price a little bit of buying pressure for the honey price. But let's put it to a vote next payment session. Like, does the community want us to buy honey and the treasury kind of covers the slippage a little bit? Or can we do pure X dye, and then just make the easy payments? That would be easier for me, easier for the whole team. But we want to support the community, and then we want the community to decide. So like it became that balance of like, well, how can the community decide that without doing like a financial incentive? Well, if you've been supporting One Hive TV, if you've been supporting One Hive, you got airdrops. If you've been following Twitter, you had airdrops. There's been plenty of opportunities to get an NFT to have at least one vote on
That's
there.
right.
And if you dumped it, that's on you. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the paper hands, guys. Paper hands.
I'm really
Yeah,
happy to hear that there's a governance application for this, so that's really cool. And so is
yeah.
the plan is to launch a garden in the next. I mean, it's on the roadmap, on your roadmap.
Well,
Yeah.
again, so like I don't want to create a token. It's been talked about, but it's like, look, at this point, if I create a token in a garden, I mean, my community is going to be my exit liquidity, ultimately, and
Yep.
that's just not something I want to do with the community. Like, you put $100, $200 to take a risk. Everybody gets hung. You put a high APY. All it does is get dumped. If I have no utility for it, it's just going to be another XCOM PCOM story
Right.
because it's just it's just going to get done, and whoever sells first is the one that's going to win. And obviously, the team's going to get a good chunk amount of it. Just as a fair distribution because but like it just doesn't make any sense. So this is like there's no liquidity required voting.
Right.
You can earn it via the NFTs. You can win. We're gonna have more competitions. So like there's even a PFP contest that I've been doing myself. Like I don't want to announce it. I just want to watch who changed their PFP, who's been supporting us. I'm keeping an eye out on Discord. Like, who did it without us asking? Who's been helping out? I don't want to, because then you get all you see, like, they do this PO-op, you get all these people flooded. They came in, got their PO-ups and said thanks, and they left. Well, that's not the kind of people that's not part of the
Right.
community. I want more community integration. Like who's been doing? I've been looking at Discord. Who changed it? Who's been talking about it? Who's been supporting us? Those are the people on the list that I'm going to do an airdrop to. Like, I think that's the fair. Again, we don't get a lot of exposure for that, but you're rewarding those that kind of helped you out when you were nobody. Like, when everybody had a lot of money, honey was 1,600 or whatever. Everybody's happy. Everybody's in a good mood. Now we're at $300 or whatever it is, and it's like, okay, well, who's still here? Who's building?
Right.
Like,
Right.
where's the community at? And that's where it matters. That's what I'm trying to get at for, like, with this community building and voting. So the vote's going to come soon. We are already live on Snapshot. I had to do the ENS and all that, and I actually integrated the request, so you can do vote at .nfbeez.xyz. I have a test vote up and running just to make sure it works. Our first official vote will have a POAP. I know you guys are nuts for that stuff. I don't understand why, but it'll have an I voted POAP. Yeah, I mean, and then it's just going to be constant votes. Like, the community is going to shape the way we move on. How distributions are going to be, what communities could come in, what chain. I don't plan on going on mainnet or anything, but I'm worried about protecting the artist's work. And by the way, each artist on this profile, like, they're available for hire. I mean, a lot of these DAOs, like, they're always looking for artists or people that don't have. Because when I was reaching out for different places, like, oh, we don't have an artist. We just, we're looking for something. Well, I mean, here's the resume on one thing. They took a template and went with their own style. If you like their style, they're available. So it's one of those things. Like, when I saw Dama's work, I'm like, man, do you have, like, a marketplace? Because I'm a fan of her work. Like, I like the way her art. So I was like, it's like, I don't have anything. It's like, well, build one, because I'm really interested in your art. And again, like, V2 will be in the works, but, like, if any of these artists are working on their own project, I mean, they help me. So it's like, it just makes sense for me to help them with whatever they need on their aspect. So there's a lot of work. I'm not, I can't sit back. Again, I have to take a little bit of a break too. But, like, the whole Wallet Connect has been in my head the whole time. So I'm like, I've been like, should I sit in front of my computer? Should I do this? Should I do that? I was like, no, just take the break. It's
Absolutely,
been a
man.
grind. Yeah. So I'm a little bit slower, but it would, it's gonna happen. We haven't paid anybody out. The only thing that's been paid out from the safe has been reimbursements. I put a lot of money into the project, like, out of paying the ENS fees, the donation to gardens, the registration for everything. Gigadig paid for the generation cost. So there was cost. So we paid ourselves back, so we're even. So now we're in the profit. But now it's, with this money, like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to reinvest in myself, and either hire a mentor, or I don't want to pay someone to do it for me. I want to pay someone to teach me how to do it. And that way I'll just have more skills and better options to create stuff like this. So, I mean, that's the plan for now. Right now the voting is, and then, we'll see what the community shapes on there, and, give a reason to mint more NFTs, and my job is to make people feel bad for selling their NFTs very low. So that's my project. That's my job now. Like, oh man, why did I sell that CryptoPunk for, like, half an ETH, in 2017? I mean, just the art alone. I mean, if you're buying it for the art, you can't lose. And I've been trying to do my collection, and I don't want to say too much of the collection I'm trying to get, because I know they're going to highball me now. But I've been trying to get a Gardens one. I've been trying to get a Yoda one. I've been trying to get this, and I'm like, damn, all these are too high. So I'm gonna see who the paper hands are, and I'm just gonna keep sniping, and then the treasure might buy back, because you got to realize, like, Gray Machine, he is now the lead project management for the whole art direction for Shapeshift.
Right.
And this is his first B. So, like, having one B in your pocket for a Shapeshift B for the lead artist of the Shapeshift DAO would be a smart move to have. Maybe not now, but imagine 4 or 5 years from now, just having that.
Yeah, no, dude, I think that the collaborative foundation of the project is, like, really super Amazing. I'm just not familiar of another project where you have this amount of artistic collaboration. Typically, I'm sure there's a team of artists, but it's like very. It's just this is yeah, DAO to DAO, decentralized, in just the
Yeah.
artistic design. And you're a hero, man. I just want to say really appreciate. I think everybody does, right? This is a project that I know people are really proud of. I've been trying to plug it as frequently as I can, and I got some awesome bees here, but I'm doing the same, man. And I suggest you just, yeah, take that break and just snipe the low.
Yeah.
Take a
I
break and
mean,
snipe the
now
paper
that
hands.
yeah, it's now that I've said it, like, oh, now I'm not gonna find one super low anymore. But I figured there was gonna be some dumpage. Someone that wants a specific bee, they'll buy five and they'll dump four so they can,
Sure,
make their money back. And
sure.
and anybody that got airdrop, some people don't care about NFTs. They're like, whatever, they'll dump it and all that. But like, if you really care about the project and it's really supportive to the One Hive community, like, we're going to be buying tokens back, like the Bright ID, like with what we have, I set a percentage for each heart. So, Bright needs liquidity. So we're going to be buying Bright honey for that. Agave, like our treasury is now, our portion of that is now deposited in Agave under the XDAI part. So like we're supporting that. We're not sitting with the funds just yet. Like we're not touching any of the funds that need to be paid out. And I really want to pay out everybody like in the next day or so. One, just to show like we're not keeping the money and stealing it. I just got to figure out this slippage issue and you know find out the best way to do it. Signing through a safe with that money with the honey. It's like I'll approve it, and then I'll have two signers, and then it'll be this price, and then another signer comes in like 2 hours later, and all of a sudden it's this price. And so like I got to really account for that. We got to like set a schedule. Like, all right, everybody all together, like Power Rangers, all sync up and push, accept, and swap. And then we can, once I do that, it's such a volatile asset that, I send out 100, 10 minutes later, and then they come back 2 hours later, and it's $90 or something. So there's a few accounting tricks I want to figure out and do that. And, it's like, man, I can't keep doing this every time we send out a payment. So we're going to put it to a community vote. Obviously the community is going to want us to drive the honey price up. I don't want to keep doing with the stress of this accounting. So we'll see who wins the vote. Yeah, that's what it
Awesome.
comes down to. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing a bit, Billy. And we gotta just continue each Monday. We can chat a bit about the progress here.
Yeah.
If there's things that you're looking for the community to get active to do,
Yeah.
but very exciting, man. Yeah.
I read on Twitter, Zero. He's a wild man on the Twitter. He loves giving away NFTs.
Okay.
He's a generous guy.
What is
So
what is your handle? What?
Oh, me, I'm gosh, I have the craziest one. It's like WC49358.
All right.
But Zero is he's pretty much the Twitter guy on there, and like
Okay.
he can be impulsive sometimes. He loves. He's a very generous dude. So he's like, all right, we're gonna give one away. So I'm like, all right, we'll do it on Hype TV.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to like literally I'm gonna pick this. I have a number in my head, and I'm gonna DM T Wells in chat before I do this,
Okay.
and that person that does it in that moment with their wallet address is going to be the winner. So if you're here and you're listening right now, put your wallet address on here, and whatever that number is going to be the winner. That's
Okay.
going to be the fair
Got
play.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got almost about 20 people on the Twitch
Yeah.
stream there, folks. Welcome to everybody, by the way. So drop your OX. We got one NFB to give away. That's right, Billy.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, sweet. And
That's voting power, and then dump it for 15. I need to pick it up. I need more power. I need more vote.
well, welcome also, Nathan, to the stage here, and we'll get rolling with DXDao as well. But Nathan, have you a chance to mint yourself an NFB?
Not yet, but it was lovely listening, and it brings up a lot of interesting other topics of conversation around NFTs and their utility in the space. Me, along with Keenan and Sky, who are also in the audience, you could probably bring them on stage,
Okay.
core members of DXDao, just had our weekly business development call, and we opened it with a similar conversation regarding what's been happening as of late in the space, especially the craze over the Irene DAO over the weekend. And I myself in particular, quite different from my co-contributors, Keenan and Sky. They're NFT fiends, but I tend to be more of a boomer. But I do see a tremendous value in space. I just worry about the way it's worked out so far. We've had tremendous examples throughout the years, and somehow they get lost in all the noise, and we always end up being the loudest around the worst projects. It's kind of like the Lindy effect, you know. And it's to my delight, DXDao is taking a different approach. We haven't, not for the lack of desire, but more because of the lack of bandwidth. But we haven't gone full degen into the NFT art space. I do appreciate it. I'm a fan of photography and art, and I do see the value in purchasing art, especially in the form of NFTs. It's very futuristic and promising, but sometimes you see projects coming up and you wonder why does this even exist, and why are people giving it any attention and wasting their lives with it? And in some cases, those are the ones that get the most attention, and
It's true.
they just give the industry a bad rap. So what my co-contributors at DXDao have managed to do recently, as we attended the Ethereum conference in Lisbon, and also the hackathon along with it, we came up with a really ingenious solution for to allow community members to build their on-chain reputation. I'll give you, the backstory on actually what DXDAO is leveraging as a consensus mechanism for our governance system to give you a better idea of the utility of this. But basically, we see a gap in the space for members trying to contribute to not just one but multiple DAOs to build their reputation, sort of a new digital replacement for the traditional resume of sorts. And we built a prototype of a DApp called Profolio that leverages precisely the NFT technology ERC-721s to record online contributions by community members to different DAOs and help them use it as their online portfolio or resume, so that they can show, kind of like proof of work and their history of contributions, which will, easily help them with their reputation. And when I say reputation, I'm now going to say a few words about how DXDAO is different in the space as well. The most prevalent way DAOs are forming at the moment, basically, we mostly see startups forming around products, and then at some point, those teams developing those products decide to decentralize and turn into DAOs. The way DXDAO came up was the exact opposite way. It was formed as a DAO, and its mission statement is now, a global, decentralized, crypto-native, remote-only community that has gathered around, collaborating trustlessly on-chain to develop and govern protocols and decentralized applications. So we are DAO first, and then we build products, not the other way around. And so the way it was spawned was by two of the leading projects at the time on the Ethereum network. DAO Stack and Gnosis, and they leverage DAO Stack's holographic consensus, which uses non-transferable, non-purchasable, it's non-liquid reputation. So it's not a liquid token you could buy on the market and quickly leverage and yield governance power within an ecosystem or an organization to sway the vote in any way you want. The only way you earn it is through direct contributions to the DAO. So it is we do see decentralization in the space as a spectrum, and we tend to be on the extreme. And it so happens that, and none of it is right or wrong. It's just we happen to be on the one extreme of it, and the majority of all the other organizations in the space tend to be in the other corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we're not maxis, neither. We are chain agnostic, so we're neither network maxis, no governance model maxis. But we've seen the tremendous benefits that we've reaped throughout the years by having the reputational governance. But we do see that there's a gap to bridge between liquid token governance and what we're doing. So we are even we're aiming even higher, and we're calling it governance 2.0. So that will be a new system that is yet to be implemented, but it's already ready in theory. We've architected it, and it will bridge the gap, take the best of both liquid token governance that is representing the voice of investors and reputational governance that is best representing the voice of core contributors that are involved with building the protocol on a day-to-day basis, and creating a medium in between that has the best of both worlds. And yeah, I believe there's a lot to be done in the space. What we've been doing is a bit unpopular. We've been kind of like in the shadows. It's nerdy, it's not sexy, but I think the time has come, because it's not just us talking about it and trying to push anything onto others. We've actually seen the opposite. We've seen organizations come to us. They're very much interested in what we're doing. It's a shame that it's a working product. We're using it, but the devs in our midst have been very helpful, managing it so that we could customize it to our needs, and whatever we need, we build and make it work. So it's not yet like a plug and play, almost like easy to use user interface that anyone in the space that wants to spin up a DAO can leverage today. We're not there yet, so it's a shame that we see a ton of interest in the space from organizations that wish to decentralize and not take the liquid token governance way, but do what we've been doing. But it takes time, and we're working towards it patiently. And it would be amazing if we also incorporate NFTs into it.
Well, and that's what I found is interesting with NFBeez, and I've heard from a number of other projects, the idea of being able to sort of vote with an NFT as a part of its utility. But like and maybe Billy can chime in here. The difference is, I know that there are some that have looked to launch, if they have like an NFT, say Rainbow Rolls, right? And they want people to be able to vote with the NFT, but it would be like a one person, one vote situation. Whereas it sounds like, Billy, with NFBeez, it's actually like you can vote with, like, the NFTs are more like sort of fungible tokens, in that the more of them that you have, the more you can, put on a single conviction vote. Is that right, Billy?
Yeah, that's actually the more NFTs you have in your wallet, the more weight you have on your vote. Like, you look at any snapshot vote, like, the guy has like 1 million tokens and the guy has like 1,000. You know, he totally outweighs the other votes. So basically,
Right.
whales them out. Yeah. Another, just not to go too off topic. I'm looking at Snapshot's ability to maybe have more weighted votes towards certain token IDs, so that way, you know, if that's even an option, that, you know, some NFTs may hold more weight over others, just to differentiate between the ERC20 and ERC721, you know, just an aspect.
Guys, by the way, did you see what just happened? Sky,
What is it?
Sky just bought a bee.
I
He
can see it.
changed.
That's a nasty looking. I like that a lot.
Wow, and
I
it's
like
a
that
really
one.
cool one. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just did it right now on the call.
You got gardens and agave on there. That is sweet, man. I dig it.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of bees, but I was wondering, what is the best? So Billy, when you talk, your bee moves.
Yeah.
So mine is animated, but how do I upload it so that it moves when I talk? Or how did you download it so that it's an animated like profile pic?
You needed Discord Nitro in order to have animated GIFs on there. There's an APNG, and I have an actual YouTube video how to do a quick conversion of that. I'll post it in the link in a little bit as it goes.
Cool.
But you have to have the Discord Nitro. You got to pay at least the $5 in order to do the.
Oh no, I think I have Discord. How do you know if you have Discord Nitro?
You pay a monthly fee for it.
Yeah, I think I have that.
Cool. I'm gonna post a YouTube video on the chat of the Twitch, so that way it'll explain how to do a quick conversion on that to see how that goes.
Thanks. Sweet.
Yeah, Sky, I'm fairly confident you're Nitro.
Yeah. I just like downloaded it from Eporio and then I uploaded it. But yeah, I'll follow your tutorial. Sweet.
Yeah, that's a PNG. It'll work. I'll shoot it to you.
Thanks.
I'm ashamed now to be on stage. Like all of you guys right now have proper PFPs with NFTs you purchased on chain. Even I see a Swapper product owner, Dog, in the audience. He's also got an NFT as a PFP, and I'm the only one with a JPEG I downloaded off Google. But
Nathan,
on the topic of,
I'll be sending you a NFB.
on the topic of governance and reputation, something that Vitalik himself has talked about a lot, and people have tried to nail in the space for years, and nobody kind of like got it right, was the token curated registries. But to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sky, DXDao has actually been doing token curated registries ever since it was incepted back in May of 2019 with the holographic consensus, because the way the governance works, you have the governance system where anyone is free to put a proposal on chain. They don't need rep. They don't need to own any token. It's completely permissionless. But then what happens is there is this token gen, that was the DAOstack's gen token that people can purchase, and all of a sudden the governance platform turns into a prediction market, and people start upstaking and downstaking certain proposals and try and boost them to put them on top of the list of proposals, so that the one that they have the most conviction in would go through to voting. And then the way it allows for organizations to scale is, usually you cannot expect all of the token holders to vote on each and every proposal. They're not really knowledgeable. That they don't have time to, if you have a token holder holding like tokens of 10 different organizations in their wallet, you cannot expect for them to spend all day every day learning the ins and outs of all these 10 different organizations, so that he could leverage those tokens in his wallet or her wallet to vote on every proposal. So governance doesn't really scale that way. But what holographic consensus allows for, reputation holders, and DXDao has almost 500 of those globally. We don't need all of them to vote on every proposal. You don't need an absolute majority of minimum more than 50% of all voters to vote on a certain outcome for a proposal to pass. once the prediction market does its job, the token curated registry, and a certain proposal gets boosted to the top of the list, then all you need is a relative majority. And in that case, you don't need each time to have more than 50% of reputation holders to vote. All you need is just one person to vote yay or nay, and if no one else votes, it will still pass. So on one hand, you have a token curated registry. On the other hand, you allow an organization with reputational governance to scale massively without needing the majority of voters to be engaged all the time. And that's
Right.
something that we should probably be talking more about because it's little known in the space.
One of the big takeaways I had, even just the first sort of intersection I had with DXDao was earlier in the year when I met John out in Denver, and it was sort of this, learning about how DXDao was doing things, whether it's ENS or all of these other things, essentially before anybody else. And it's just really cool to learn about the practical utility of things that, as you said, are sometimes just hyped in the case of NFTs. But in the case of ENS, right, so the domain itself, I think for all DXDAO products uses ENS domains, right?
Exactly. That's something actually Keenan and Sky here wrote an amazing article. I think maybe we should give him the stage to talk about it, but it's definitely something mind-boggling. Like I just read a tweet the other day that they have the ENS organizations, they have two new tweet handles. One tweets about new integrations and the other one tweets stats. And on the one tweeting stats, I read that they have tens of thousands of holders, and half of those had at least one. So they're a pretty huge community. And when you read that tens of thousands of people globally own .eth addresses, and probably 99% of them don't even know the utility behind it, that it allows you to have a decentralized domain. And the way DXDAO leverages that with together with IPFS and then the ENS, and both being managed by the on-chain governance, makes it a formidable concoction that makes you govern unstoppable dApps. It's truly censorship resistant. In a way, some people might perceive it as a drawback, because even if you have a single typo on the front end and you say, oh gosh, we've spelled that word wrong, we gotta change the spelling and upload it again, you cannot just chat with a single dev and ask him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a single point of failure. We have to go through on-chain governance that takes more than a week with almost 500 global reputation holders to vote on that in order for us to change a single typo. And that's the type of censorship resistance we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if Keenan or Sky, feel free to chime in about any of this stuff. The floor is y'all's.
The thing about Nathan is he loves sharing, and he has encapsulated this entire conversation really well. I'm not sure I have anything to add, really.
Yeah, well, when I've tried to describe it before, a question that has come up, well, how does that really happen? Who decides on what gets uploaded and comes up when people load the page? Well, here it is. You have the protocol running on the chain on the back end, and that's completely decentralized. One can argue Ethereum is the most decentralized network in the DLT space. And then the problem comes, the disconnect between, and this is similar with governance, the disconnect between what happens on chain and the action that gets taken. For example, with governance, you have all of these platforms like Snapshot and others, but they're totally not censorship resistant. you have absolutely no guarantee, because it happens off chain, exactly what the vote was, because it can be manipulated. And then no matter what the outcome of that vote, even if it was all genuine and the end result that is reported is correct and it is not manipulated, you have zero guarantee that the person controlling, for example, if it was a proposal for someone to transfer funds from the treasury to protocol, you have no guarantee that the person in control of that treasury will actually do it, because Snapshot is completely detached from the smart contracts.
Right.
And the way DXDAO does it with our platform, it is all on chain. Basically, that disconnect is bridged. We have a multi-call scheme and we have relayers that allow us, when reputation holders in the DAO vote on a certain proposal and it has to do with fund management from the treasury, those on-chain calls are able to be executed exactly as the outcome of the proposal dictates, and no one can do anything other than that. So it doesn't happen automatically. It can, of course, if we integrate, say, Gelato or some other protocol like that. But basically what happens is, if you vote yay or nay and everybody votes yay, then a button appears allowing you to execute that call, and anyone in the world can do it and you cannot stop them. So basically, if people of the DAO, the global community, votes yes, so it will happen, and no one can do the opposite, and vice versa. So that there's that gap is bridged, and it doesn't exist that bridge doesn't exist anywhere else in the other governance systems. That there's a complete disconnect. So and similar with the way we manage our front ends, you have these organizations like Uniswap Labs, or you have Sushi, but who owns uniswap.org, or who owns sushi.com? Someone somewhere with their email registered the domain, and they're in control of it, and they can be censored. Just in the case with Uniswap Labs, their investors that backed them, the VCs, got scared that the SEC told them some of the tokens that were traded can fall into the category of securities, so they should not be traded. And all of a sudden, the front end got censored, and those tokens were delisted.
Yep.
And that can never happen, because the way we do it is we have the repositories. Anyone can fork the dApp. Anyone can create a new version of the dApp with a new release. They can add as many features as they wish. And then it is up to them to put up a proposal to the DAO to vote to match that new build, that new release, with the they uploaded the developer uploads it to IPFS, and then puts up a proposal for the DAO to vote whether they will match that IPFS content hash of that particular build to the ENS domain controlled by the DAO, so that whenever people in the world type in that domain in their browser, they get it resolves to that IPFS hash content hash, and they get redirected to that one in particular. So it comes to the curation of the entire DAO to approve certain build. Anyone is free to create a new build of the dApp, and anyone can upload a version of the dApp on their own domain. Like I can buy, say, decentralizedexchange.com. I can fork the dApp and upload it, but I may have implanted something malicious, and people may think, yeah, it still interacts with the decentralized blockchain on the back end. It's safe, but no, the front end is a Trojan horse. I've put a malicious software that will drain your wallet. And this is prevented by having each build that is proposed to be matched with the domain controlled by the DAO to be reviewed, and only the one that is approved by the on-chain governance gets to be made the official one. And that's why people have the security that whenever they visit swapper.eth, they know that that is the one that is approved by the DAO. And there's almost, of course, nothing is impossible, but compared to all of the other organizations and dApps in the space, the chances of something like tampering happening is brought to an absolute minimum. And it's literally the best use case of ENS domains in the space. And it's pretty much only DXDAO doing it. And it's mind-boggling how you have like tens of thousands of people owning those domains, and barely none of them have
Use it.
created their own decentralized web pages with it.
Right.
So Nathan's gone into some pretty deep details, and for those that are listening, maybe this is gonna benefit you on Friday. But when we do the trivia quiz on Friday, we will touch on a bunch of these. There will be questions related to a bunch of these topics, obviously related to DXDAO, and there'll be the question. Then I guess there'll be some discussion and interesting, similar to this conversation, like details around why things happen the way they do with the different parts of DXDAO. But yeah, we're excited for the trivia question. We don't have all the questions set just yet. We have to do that this week. But I think that this was a little tease of some of the details, and it gets really deep really quickly. And Nathan's done a good job of that. But that's how it kind of relates to what will probably happen on Friday with the trivia quiz.
Yeah, I wanted to definitely.
And that reminds me, we just had the call earlier, and one of the devs working on our governance platform suggested that we should probably, apart from the standard token remuneration for the successful participants in the trivia quiz, we may even award them with some reputation that will give them governance power in our DAO. And we will be having a proper discussion tomorrow to figure out how exactly we're going to implement that.
Sweet. Well, I got the tweet ready for this afternoon, first of the week here. I'm super excited for Friday. For everybody who's listening.
Keenan is our social media guru. You should be liaising with him to coordinate. Yeah,
Let's do it. Yeah, I need to figure out more in terms of on the DXDAO side who I should interface with for which things, so I'm not wasting anybody's time. But I'll let you know, Keenan. I'll share with you what we got, and we can come up with a good strategy for this week. Get people here. So ENS, definitely, speaking specifically for Friday, if people are here, we included that on the tweet there. What should we direct them towards the docs specifically, or where should people start if they want to prepare for the questions on Friday? What do y'all think?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I think there's a lot of information. Our documentation is quite robust. It does need a bit of an update, so it might not have everything. But generally, our Medium blog and DX docs, our documentation, are a good place to start.
Sweet. Okay, the link to the docs is in the chat.
Where do you get to DX docs, Keenan?
I was actually looking for a chat here in Discord. Is there somewhere I can share some links to you all?
Sure. So in the One Hive TV chat channel, it's towards the bottom of the Swarms section. We're keeping links in there, and I shared the homepage and the docs, but if there's anything else you guys want to put up there for Alpha, go for it. One Hive TV channel.
Awesome. Found it. Just going to drop the blog as well.
Awesome.
We have good writers in our midst, and Keenan has been doing a great job running the good part of our blog. So if people head over to Medium, they will see a ton of useful information about our dApps, our governance. We have monthly in review recaps and updates on everything that the DAO community has been up to for the past month. It's full of a ton of interesting information in there.
Sweet. Yeah, I got it up on screen right now. So go to Docs, check out Medium. Obviously, the web page, folks, would be probably the best place to start. Yeah, we had the carrot instance with agave, and I was just curious. I've learned a bit about each of these except for aqua, and I see that's coming soon. Is that you guys want to show a little bit of there? I'd love to learn.
Yeah. Well, you know how you have all of these token launch pads and platforms allowing you to, sell a token to the community, but most of them are just one-trick ponies. Like it's basically one scheme on its own, and it's a specific use case, and not every project would be happy with running their token launch on that particular platform. So there are many platforms, but each is specific and peculiar. What we are doing with Aqua is building a protocol, like a framework that would allow anyone to plug in their own sales mechanism. So it's not just one type of token sale mechanism, but any type you could think of. And we have several of the most popular ones lined up, and it would be permissionless and allow any team that is savvy enough and have their own developers ready with a proper smart contract that is audited to plug and play their own as well. So it's a framework, and the future, what the future holds for it is something really cool. The thing is, we are spread too thin. We've had to reorganize our dev resource. It's kind of like put on the back burner because we have other amazing dApps that we are prioritizing at the moment, like Swapper, for example, and our governance platform. So there's a ton of cool ideas around Aqua, but that coming soon is indefinite. And to tease the audience, it will basically, what we're building in in DXDao is not without any reason. It's not just haphazard picking up some random stuff and working on it. Everything is there for a reason, and it kind of like serves as a network effect. You can have a great idea and you would like to launch a utility or a governance token. You can do that with one of the sales mechanisms on Aqua. Then that will be integrated, allowing you to bootstrap a liquidity pool in Swapper and incentivize it in a farm, rewarding LPs who have just purchased your token to provide liquidity and earn rewards, to bootstrap that pool and allow other traders to easily buy or sell the token without incurring much, slippage or price impact. Then we have the prediction markets platform Almond that could be utilized for all sorts of, surveys. You could basically gauge the sentiment of the crowd and see where the price action is headed, or any type of information you wish to source from the hive mind. And we've also built the Carrot platform with the same reason. It is a performance-driven community incentives protocol with that leverages ERC20 conditional KPI tokens that allows protocols to incentivize communities with Carrot tokens, and it pretty much maximizes the return on investment and at the same time minimizes any expenditure. In the past, protocols have been triggering the bazooka and sending a ton of incentives towards the community, for example, giving rewards to certain pools. But if those pools don't deliver, all of that money is spent in vain. The token is given to whales, they dump it, and the token tanks. So what those community incentives allow is the best of both worlds. On one hand, the community is allowed to collectively work towards a common goal and earn those incentives. At the same time, protocols don't have to pay if they don't see any performance. They lock the rewards in carrot, mint the conditional tokens, give those to the community, and only if a certain goal is reached, then the community that has then earned those carrot tokens will be able to use them to unlock the underlying collateral, redeem the real rewards. But if they don't deliver, they don't get the honey. You don't get to put your paws in the honey pot if you haven't done the job. So it's a fair play. No one can complain, oh, you promised rewards but I didn't get any. Well, you didn't do the job. Why would you expect free money? So, and when you put all of these protocols and platforms that we've built, it is like a network effect that would allow any startup to launch their token for their product, bootstrap a liquidity pool, incentivize the community, and Bob's your uncle.
Right on. Well, yeah, I don't. I'm not sure if Agave is continuing to run like a second carrot instance, or maybe they're planning to do a little bit later. Okay, I wasn't sure.
I think there was a hiccup with the rewards that Agave is receiving from Gnosis, and that's kind of like put the brakes on what's happening at the moment, because they were promised certain amount of tokens to help bootstrap a good community around the protocol with nice incentives, but that was a bit put on hold because of the issue that it and it's not just Agave that's having that issue. It's us at DXDao. We were liaising with the team, the former team at XDAI, to receive funds from the ecosystem fund to incentivize the community around our DEX. Mm-hmm. And this actually touches on something I spoke earlier. It passed a snapshot vote, and it was approved, and we were promised a certain amount of funds, and it turns out that we will never get it. So there you go with snapshots. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't haven't kept up as closely with Agave recently, but that's unfortunate to hear. And that's okay.
But the campaign itself was really successful,
right?
Because basically they did something really nice. They leveraged the full potential of Carrot. Instead of doing a binary all or nothing campaign where you read a fixed goal, and if you hit the goal, you get the rewards, all of it, or if you don't hit the goal, you get none of it. Mm-hmm. They did a scalar market with a range, allowing flexibility. So below the range, you get nothing, but of course it allows for full flexibility. So there could also be a certain minimum, even if the community does not perform, you could still give them something. But generally, for a range market, below the minimum of the range, if you are targeting a certain TVL in a pool, total value locked, if the community underperforms and doesn't provide liquidity, you give them nothing. If they hit the top of the range, they get the full amount of rewards. Mm-hmm. And if they are in the range, anywhere in the range, it's a linear progression, and they get a percentage. Like if they are 30% up in the range, they get 30% of the rewards in the end.
Got it.
And the campaign really helped the protocol save some of its funds instead of spending it in vain. So it was successful.
It did, yeah. I that was one of the things I know Monstro shared when we had a chance to chat that I thought was really interesting, sort of about the dual token model, and then adding the carrot to it makes it definitely it's beneficial to the protocol, sort of regardless of
Yeah.
the TVL. Yeah.
And it helps people understand, like, you cannot make this protocol that is miraculous, like a magic wand, because imagine there are 200 dexes in the space. You cannot just plug in carrot campaigns and all of a sudden your dex, which is brand new and nobody knows about, becomes the number one of all 200 dexes in the space and gets all the liquidity. It's not that kind of product, you know. there's no magic wands to help any protocol, whatever the use case is, to use a carrot campaign and all of a sudden it's a miraculous success. Carrot just is it's like
It's a
a
tool.
piece of the Lego puzzle that allows you a little flexibility and efficiency with how you spend and rewards and incentivize your community. So it's a genius tool that can be leveraged by pretty much any protocol in the space, but they shouldn't expect like all of a sudden to be the biggest and the best. It doesn't do that.
Right. No, I think it's just a really cool way to incentivize, not only in the case of TVL for a protocol like Agave, but for teams and the way that you can sort of integrate it to incentivize folks. I've been thinking a lot about it for the One Hype TV side of things, because obviously, and sort of the marketing side in general, I guess, communications applications there would be really cool. Do you guys have any applications internally for this sort of KPI tokens for some of the projects that you guys do at DXDao?
Yeah, we're brainstorming different bounties that we could put up for the upcoming hackathon in East Denver, but it's all in the making. Basically, just in a similar way like Aqua, it is a framework. It's not a
Right.
single-purpose dApp, so anyone can build a front end and make it a dApp of their own with a separate use case. You could leverage Carrot to do an options platform. You could leverage Carrot to make it a payroll system for DAOs. You could use it to put up bounties. It can be used by VCs. The one way we are leveraging Carrot at the moment is we've created our own internal venture arm called DX Ventures to support talented teams in the space tackling pain points of DAOs and also developing some other interesting use cases. And at the moment, we are there is an on-chain proposal for our community to vote on supporting a two-dimensional metaverse project called Atlantis World. And the way they put their proposal on chain is they requested a certain amount of funds to receive directly, and then they themselves created a list of bullet points with deliverables that they promise to do by a certain date, and they've put mid-April as the deadline to receive a certain amount of additional funding that will be locked in Carrot. So basically, that's probably first time in the world a VC, a venture DAO is investing in a startup by giving them carrots. So
Interesting.
they will receive some of the funds directly in stable coins, but the rest they will receive in the form of carrots, and only if they deliver on their promise to execute on those key performance indicators they themselves set up for them by April, they will receive the rest and will be able to use the carrots to redeem the locked collateral.
Got it. Very
And
cool.
it's really versatile. It's really lightweight, and there are a myriad of use cases one could think of. And you cannot possibly make it so that the single user interface that we're gonna build for it can allow for people to easily leverage all those use cases. Developers from the global community have to be creative, and you could create your own business on top of carrots. It's free, common good. It's open source. So if you are skilled enough you can create a dApp on top of Carrot. We will never gonna lock it, censor it, or prevent you from ever using it again. So if you build your own dApp with your own user interface with a particular use case leveraging the Carrot framework, you can build a whole business on top of it, and we'll never prevent you from it. It's common good.
That's really cool. I'd love to get some questions at some point from some more developer-oriented folks. I mean, I know Billy, I think, might still be on the call, but this is sort of where I find it as a tool highly interesting. But obviously, I have no technical skills, so thinking about how to integrate it, or to sort of build on top of it. I don't know, Billy, are you still with us, man? What are your thoughts on these KPI tokens? Maybe even for the thinking forward
I
for
love 'em.
NFBeez. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, like with the agave thing, I was part of the carrot thing, and like that with the stake swap, I was like, we missed target. But I was really for it. I mean, imagine if we had that this month, and now with everybody depositing GNO, it would have been like amazing. I love it. I mean, ultimately, from my side, again, like as like the struggling dev, the more docs and the easier you are to implement it. Like if you can make a video of like somebody just showing you how to implement it, the easier you make it, the more people build off of it. You know, that's the best thing off of it. I would love to do something like that. I just need to know how.
Totally. So you just need someone hyperactive like Luigi. It's like our dev, one of our lead devs developing the platform took a week off during the holidays, and Luigi just couldn't wait. He helped himself and he just went into the back end and he created his own campaign. He didn't have to wait for us, and that's what open source is all about.
We worry about
Yeah,
Luigi.
definitely.
We,
It's crazy, man.
He's asleep. Yeah. That's great. We'll have to hack on it, Billy, you and I, and try to figure out how we can do something with Carrot for even for, I love the concept of integrating it into the payment structure of some kind. I think it's really cool. We're experimenting with Superfluid right now for the TV contributors, which is going really great. But layering in some additional KPI token incentives would be really a neat thing.
Yeah, and also for compensation for contributors to DAOs, if they receive any native tokens that are locked in a vesting contract, and those are not liquid, but they kind of like need them. If the DAO puts them in Carrot, mints carrots, and distributes those to contributors, they are still locked in a vesting contract in a way. It has a maturity date, say 1 year or 2 years or 3 years into the future. You cannot redeem the actual tokens that are locked, but those ERC20 carrots are still tradable. So if a contributor has a vesting contract, they can still like partially or fully cash out if they need urgently some sort of liquidity. And the same for VCs, but with VCs it's a little different because that's actually one of the problems in the space, because VCs, they invest in a startup, they basically have a ton of money and they invest in a ton of startups, and most of them are more like hedge funds. They're not like patient capital investing in startups, helping them along the way and making them a true success. They have so much money, they don't care to, they don't bother to help them. They just give money to 100 startups, and they only need, say, like 5 of them to make 100x to make up for the rest that failed, without even doing any work for that. But
Right.
if startups do it the other way around, lock the tokens in Carrot, give carrots to the VCs for the money that the VCs are giving the startup, and tell them, you are going to get our token only if the price is X in the future. So, and basically, all that time until that date, those VCs will have to put some sweat in and help that startup make it, because if that startup doesn't make it and it fails, those carrots will be worthless and they cannot cash out. Because at the moment, VCs have the advantage. Even if the startup does fail in the future, VCs still make money, and it's all on the back of retail, because they pump it hard when it's vaporware. They don't have a product built yet, but they hype it on crypto Twitter. And once the tokens unlock, the retail is their exit liquidity, but there's no product. And basically, 6 months down the line, or one year down the line, the project fails, the team disbands, and there's nothing. But the VCs made millions off retail, and this can be prevented with Carrot.
Very interesting. I would open the floor. I mean, Sky, Keenan, if you want to pipe in about, or chime in rather, for Carrot or anything else you guys want to plug here at the end, and maybe we push for till the bottom of the hour. Does that sound good for everybody? Another 15?
Yeah, no, I think Nathan's covered a lot. Nothing to add, but it was great to participate in this, and also really looking forward to Friday.
Maybe a couple of words for our DEX swapper, because there's a ton of hype nowadays that I find it funny that there are a handful of 50,000 follower accounts on Twitter, and basically they're like puppeteers controlling everyone else on the social network. Like when you have like a group of friends and all of you have like 50 or 100,000 followers on the network, we see those waves. That I see them literally like waves. Or if I don't know, if we put ourselves in the shoes of Neo in the Matrix, you see on the screen that string of like zeros and ones, and you see, oh, there are those pump and dumpers on crypto Twitter again. So basically, no matter what it is, it can easily get a lot of hype with those accounts, but if there's any substance behind it or not, no one really cares. But it's all retail paying for it. So we have this amazing DEX with Swapper, and unfortunately we don't have that network of 100,000 followers and accounts that will pump it, and we don't want to do that. We've never ever in the history of the DAO paid for any advertising mentioning token price, APY, or whatever. We're never talking about the tokens. That's why we are in the shadows. We don't advertise and pump and make people pay attention to price action. We're all about building infrastructure and building public goods. And this is what Swapper is. It is being still in a majority governed by the reputation holders of DXDao, but the sole purpose of the governance token that was distributed to a wide range of different communities in the space that have been active with governance in other protocols like 1inch or StakeDAO and others like that, is putting the token in the hands of people who would be active in managing it. And the protocol itself is amazing because it gives power to LPs to decide what the protocol trading fee would be for a certain pool. It allows token holders to decide which pools to incentivize, how much of the token emissions to allocate to certain farms. So it is this amazing Web3 use case that is like the forefront of what Web3 is all about. In the traditional space, you have the builders of the startup, you have the Silicon Valley investors, and you have the users. And those are three different groups. With a decentralized application like Swapper, all these three are the same person. I, as a token holder, am the person that governs how the dApp develops. And in essence, I'm a part of the team building it. I'm also an investor, and I'm also a user. So this is what Web3 is all about. All these three groups converging into one person, the ownership economy.
Well, so we got a number of pools that are obviously, if people are looking to LP over here, If you haven't heard of Swapper before, again, swapper.eth.link. And you guys, so it's right now, this is on Ethereum, Arbitrum, XDAI. You thinking about
Yeah.
deploying to any other chains in the near future, or are we going to stick with these right now?
Cool question. Yeah, as I noted earlier, we are chain agnostic, and we'll listen to what I mean. There's no we. It's like when I say we, it seems like there's this centralized team that is running like a startup, and we're doing whatever we want. It is a global DAO after all. I'm just one person from the community. I'm here today. I may not be here tomorrow. I'm by no means anyone. I don't hold any title. We have a completely flat structure. So yeah, but we, the community, are chain agnostic, and we listen to not us, the team, listening to the community, but us, the community, listening to ourselves, the hive mind, the swarm, and whatever the community says, that will happen, as long as there are enough devs in our midst onboarded to help us. We don't currently have the bandwidth to do as we please and act on our ambitions as we want. We have a ton of things we wish to pursue, but we don't have enough dev resource or time. Even if we had the dev resource, we don't even have the time to act on it. Space is developing so quick, like a mushroom. So, but yeah, we've been eyeing. We were the first. We launched on Arbitrum on day one. We deployed on testnet in February, and then when mainnet was live on August 31st, we were the first dApps. We attracted 70 million in liquidity in the first 2 days. It has since then subsided. And yeah, we are eyeing, zero knowledge proof rollups, not just optimistic ones. Probably the EVM compatible ones like ZK Sync, but not excluding Starknet. Although that there's compromise on interoperability with other protocols. We actually noticed, ever since we launched on Arbitrum, we noticed a common problem in the space with bridging, and Swapper is built around the user experience. That's why our core focus at the moment for developers to develop our bridging solution. It is already functioning. It allows for bridging ETH between mainnet and Arbitrum. It basically leverages the Arbitrum bridge, but with a better user interface and without people leaving the dApp. And we are adding other bridging solutions as well. So in the future, anyone can bridge their tokens, whether they're the native tokens for the chain or ERC20s, within Swapper, bridge and swap without leaving the user interface. It's still early. We have a ton of work to do, but yeah, we're going to be deploying on other networks, keep developing our bridging solution. It's impossible to, like, if we had stayed on mainnet, Swapper was the first DEX, AMM DEX to ever be deployed on Ethereum by a DAO, like by a decentralized community, not a team. And then we ventured onto the former XDAO chain, now Gnosis, then Arbitrum, and in the future, probably others as well.
Cool. Well, maybe to wrap things up, I don't know, Keenan, what are you most excited about for DXDAO in 2022 here? You want to share a little about that and wrap things up?
Oh man, I think actually the thing I'm most excited for really is kind of the ENS ownership. Really is our core values in hand there, which I know we've kind of drilled through quite a bit already on this call. But that's kind of the primary focus from my end, I think, is decentralized ownership, permissionlessness. As Nathan mentioned, there's no central point of failure with DXDAO, and just kind of expanding upon that going forward. Especially education of that aspect, I think, is going to be important this year.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, it's been really great to have you all here, and thank you, Nathan, for arranging, helping to make the trivia happen on Friday. We'll get a tweet out a little bit later today, and we'll look forward to that. Again, everybody in the audience, thank you very much for stopping by here on Friday. We'll all be back more or less in the same place. We're not going to be on the stage. We'll be here in the One Hive Discord for trivia on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have some great questions on DXDAO for y'all.
Amazing. And am I right thinking? Yeah.
Is that Billy?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna jump in. It's just so you know, I can guarantee that we'll have at least one FB for the trivia. If we have more paper hands, I'm buying them out. We'll have 3, but I have 1 for sure for you guys.
This man, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sweet.
Yeah, and am I right thinking that there's gonna be an NFT POAP as well? Yes,
there will be a POAP. And we have Acid Laser working on that right now. If you guys, again, on the DXDAO side, however much time you guys would like to sort of iterate on some of these things, just let me know. Otherwise, we can generate sort of end-to-end there. But we'll have the POAPs, we'll have NFBeez, thank you to Billy there, and we'll also have sort of a commemorative, like an event NFT that's for the podium. And then we've done, so in the past we've had 5. We do 1 for each of the podium winners, and then 1 for each of the DAO treasuries. But we could maybe do an extra couple. Rohek puts these together. I think Rohek's on Twitch today. If you're there, what's up, my man? He does great, like it's sort of a trading card NFT that is animated to turn in a circle. So we'll actually have POAPs, 2 NFTs, and then crypto rewards for the winners.
Amazing. Wow. Not to miss. It's one not to miss. Yeah.
We'll have a good time.
Thanks for having us, by the way. You're an awesome host.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for stopping by, and thanks again to everybody for joining us. We'll be back. We'll see everybody on Friday, and of course we do this every Monday on the stage here. So set your calendar, and we'll see everybody back on Monday as well for the next stream. Cheers, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Cheers.